Californians are warned not to charge their electric vehicles just days after the state announced the ban on the sale of new gas-powered cars by 2035. NTD's Jason Perry speaks with a climate and energy expert to learn more.
Just days ago, the chair of the California Air Resources Board announced their plan to cut emissions, which she said could change the world.
With the phasing out of new sales of internal combustion engine vehicles, this could well be the final set of major criteria pollutant emission standards for new light-duty conventional vehicles. I just really want to thank all of the hard work that went into building this package.
And now, Californians are warned that they could face blackouts if they charge their electrical cars. The warning came from the company that oversees California's grid. They say due to extreme heat, there is an urgent need to conserve electricity from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Thursday was the second day of voluntary restricted power usage, and the company warns it may continue through Labor Day weekend. The warning further explained that the power grid is stressed because demand for electricity remains high and there is less solar energy available.
And when you're already short of electricity and then you're going to require all the cars sold to be electric, how is that going to work?
I spoke with the president of Truth in Climate and Energy, Frank Lassay, who explained why California is short on energy.
The big difference is that wind and solar power, which seems to be the trend, is part-time power, and you need a full-time power supply to make your electric grids work. Electric grids store no power. That means that demand must be met by supply all the time, and they're just chronically short of electricity, and it's going to get worse because they just aren't building enough replacement energy fast enough, and they want to rely completely on wind and solar.
Then he added this.
You have to store that energy, or you have to pay for what we're doing now. Why it's going to be so expensive is that electric grid has to have power generated and put on the grid as demand to meet demand all the time. So what we're ending up doing is paying for full-time power, which is coal, natural gas, and nuclear power, and adding part-time power to it.
Also on Thursday, California lawmakers passed a bill to extend the life of the state's only nuclear power plant. We reached out to the office of California Governor Gavin Newsom for comment, but we didn't hear back before airtime. Jason Perry, NTD News.
What may have been racially discriminatory treatment has been amended out of a California bill. Opponents said that they would have legalized racial discrimination.
The California State Senate has made major changes to Assembly Bill 1604 to remove content and quotas that could lead to racial preferences. Wu Wenyuan of Californians for Equal Rights said that the bill, also known as California's Upward Mobility Act of 2022, will induce preferential treatment in public employment. She argued before a legislative committee that AB 1604 is based on, quote, a misguided rationale of engineered disparities. Wu said this is tantamount to instituting racial preferences, thereby violating the state constitution, stoking racial divisions, and legalizing racial discrimination in public employment. She cited factual data to show that minorities and women are similarly represented in the civic workforce, including managerial roles, contrary to unverified allegations. CFER stated after the bill was amended that they are, quote, encouraged by this unexpected development and glad that, quote, the finalized proposal aligns with the state constitution.
While teachers in California have been hard to find as of late, one justification is low pay. But one research director shares that the total median salary of California teachers was almost 6 figures as of just several years ago.
With the help of his organization, Todd Madison, research director at Transparent California, has collected 36.7 million records from public education agencies since 2010.
And if you look at all that data and run some numbers, the total median compensation of a teacher in the state of California in 2020 was $119,422 a year.
He explains to California Insider's Siamak Karami that total compensation includes the value of benefits, which are health care, retirement plans, etc. The total median pay is $91,097.
I think teachers are great. You know, I really appreciate the work that teachers do for us. We have many friends in my family that are teachers, awesome people. You know, we should support them in any way we can. But at some point we have to say teachers are being fairly paid, and maybe we should use some of that extra money to go towards the education of our kids.
He says in his school district, the teachers union asked for increased pay, but at the same time, school staff would have to be reduced to make up for the increase.
The starting rate for most districts for teachers tends to be about $45,000 to $50,000 a year. That's where they start. To focus on that, though, is similar to saying, you know, if you're a resident, if you're studying to be a doctor and you're a resident, you make very little money. Therefore, doctors don't make any money. That's not true. You know, once you get past that residency, you make a lot of money if you're a doctor.
Compensation ramps up over time, Madison says, after teachers pass the initial rate. They can make $115,000 to $120,000 at the top of the pay schedule, but it does not include additions like stipends.
By paying teachers more at the high end of their career, they increase the pension payout for the teacher at the end. I think that's exactly the opposite of what they should be doing. They should be paying starting teachers more.
He says typically, like in his district, teachers can reach the median pay of $91,000 around 10 years of teaching. Madison says superintendents are paid on average $270,000. During the pandemic, non-credentialed teachers have stepped in to fill for the shortage of licensed teachers.
You know, the teachers themselves are in it for the kids. They want what's best for our kids. The union, however, promotes this idea that it's a low-paid career, and as a result, I think they have a hard time attracting people.
He hopes superintendents' compensation would be performance-based, dependent on how schools are doing. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
To watch the full program, find California Insider on YouTube or Epic TV on the Epic Times website. Whales are usually a majestic and a welcomed sight whenever spotted. Unfortunately, the body of a well-known whale was found at one Northern California beach, believed to be struck by a ship.
On Sunday, a 49-foot humpback whale was spotted floating towards Manhattan Beach in Half Moon Bay.
After receiving reports of a dead whale washing ashore Sunday afternoon, a team of scientists from the Marine Mammal Center and our partners at the California Academy of Sciences performed a necropsy, or an animal autopsy, early Monday morning.
Scientists suspect that the sea mammal was fatally struck by a ship before floating to shore.
Among the findings included an extensive contusion over her right chest area, a fractured first cervical vertebrae, and a skull that was dislocated from the spinal column.
Researchers identified her as Fran, who was a well-known whale that researchers have studied over the years. Happy Whales Tracker database has recorded over 270 sightings of Fran since her birth in 2005, making her the most popular whale in California, often seen in the Monterey Bay area.
Sharing this information with industry to know where the whales are, I think it's all part of a communicative network, and it requires a lot of collaboration amongst everyone and being open to sharing your data.
Fran's death caused a shock to the whale watching community. According to the Marine Mammal Center, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration issues seasonal voluntary speed reduction requests on the West Coast to reduce the risk of ship strikes to whales. Over 60% of ships currently reduce their speed in these seasonal zones. Specialists are pushing for more risk reduction, such as mandatory speed limits.
We're also in the process, like John was mentioning, one very good solution, always worth exploring, is actually relocating the shipping lanes to move the overlap away from ships and whales.
The center estimates between 35 to 40,000 whales around the world, including 2,900 that frequent the West Coast. To report a dead whale or whale in distress, call the center's rescue hotline at 415-289-SEAL or 7325. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
At one Southern California zoo, homemade ice treats are being offered to residents, from lions to kangaroos. Some are even getting extra showers to regulate their body temperatures as a Labor Day weekend heat wave approaches.
Zookeepers in Santa Barbara are taking extra steps to keep their animals cool as California heads into what experts are calling a dangerous heat wave. In the lion enclosure, handlers are leaving out joints of meat wrapped in ice for 6-year-old Ralph, his mate Felicia, and their daughter Pauline. They're also being given ice blocks made with meat flavor to try to keep them cool, though the hot temperatures mean they don't last long.
They got some ice blocks which are made out of beef bone broth as well as some diluted goat's milk on it. And by providing that little bit of extra flavor to it, the animals, they might lick it, get a little bit of that extra hydration and cooling that they might not even realize. So we're kind of tricking them into helping them stay cool.
In the recently opened Australian walkabout area, Banjo, the emu, enjoys a shower from handler Kelly Summers. For 15 minutes, she stands with a hose, and Banjo savors every last drop of water.
He loves the dripping action that comes off of his body. He loves the sensation of the coolness, and he loves to preen his own feathers, so he could do this all day.
The creative cooling processes entertain zoo guests.
I mean, that was something unusual for me. I'd never seen that before, but I know the heat it's on. So yeah, definitely we have to take care of the animals like this way.
Just like people, right? We have to keep them hydrated and well cared for. But I would assume that they're used to the heat, that gorillas are used to that kind of climate.
A few feet away, kangaroos and wallabies lay in the shade. After zookeepers pour a bucket of ice onto the ground, the famously skittish animals suddenly become quite assertive.
Whether it's a little bit of small ice cubes for animals, or whether it's a really large ice block, we do need to take into account for the physiology of the animal, the size of the animal, also the number of the animals. We don't want competition over like an ice block if it's for a group of animals. That's where maybe a bunch of small ice cubes might be more appropriate instead of providing just one solid ice block for them.
Keepers removed a family of 7 otters from their enclosure to drain out wastewater and replace it with 200 pounds of ice treats. Once released, it takes only a few minutes of uncertainty before the pups are grabbing blocks of ice in their mouths and swimming away with them as their parents lick the fishy popsicles.
The otters absolutely love it. You know, this is a nice warm day for them. They're always going to be playing in the water, but by providing the extra ice for them, it's a little bit, going to be a little bit more cooling, refreshing for them. It's also going to be something more novel, stimulating for them, both mentally and physically as well. So the ice has multiple benefits for our animals.
According to the National Weather Service, the heat wave will gradually build throughout the week, hitting the southern part of the state first, but then scorching the northern regions over the long holiday weekend.